Before I begin, I just want to say that I am a clear and concise speaker. I am aware of other people's need to communicate verbally, and when others speak, I listen because other people have good ideas and need to divulge. I am a clear and concise speaker. I'm aware of other people. Where? I'm aware of other people. Where? Other people? Where? I am a clear and concise speaker. I'm aware of other people. Other people have good ideas. Other people got ID. Got ID. Got ID. Have you got ID? Have you got ID? Have you got ID? Other people got ID and need to. I am a clear and concise speaker. I'm aware of other. I am a clear and concise speaker. I'm aware of other people's need to communicate verbally. When others speak, oi, listen. I listen, oi, listen. I listen, oi, listen. Other people have good ideas and need to divulge. So that is a little poem that I think of as kind of deconstructionist, and it's dedicated to all those lovely people who walk up to me after a show and say, "Gee, you're so articulate. How'd you learn to speak like that?" And I'm always a bit like, "Well, I started when I was 2. Thanks for considering all the important ideas that I talked about on stage and complimenting me for the thing that a child can do right away. So yes, I originally come from Chicago, and I write and perform monologues and poems and stories, and I do that for a couple of reasons, and I'm going to take you back to those turning points in my life that kind of pushed me onto this stage. I started out as an actor when I was in high school, and when I graduated, I went to a theater in Chicago and auditioned for my first professional play. It was called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I'm sure you've seen the movie, right? Well, this was the small theater, professional theater in Chicago, and here's what happened. I begin reading the script, and the director stops me after a couple of lines and says, "What are you doing?" I'm reading the script." "Oh, okay, you're reading for the lead role, though." Yes, is that okay?" "Well, the lead is not black." "Oh, I mean, it doesn't say that in the script, though. It's implied. The man's name is Murphy, therefore he must be Irish." Oh, well, how does that explain Eddie?" "Excuse me? Eddie. Eddie Murphy?" "Well, we've got you listed as janitor 1, janitor 2, or the Indian guy whose name is Chief and he's comatose through most of the play." "But I'm not Indian." "You could be." So that's when I realized nothing going on here, or here would ever actually come out if I waited for an idiot to cast me in the perfect role. So I changed my university major to literature, began sending out manuscripts, and I got the following feedback from an agent. "Would you consider changing your central character, an African-American 19-year-old security guard? Most readers will not empathize with this character, considering most readers are white women over 50. And therefore, here I am. So performing my own poems and stories around the world is what I do for a living. And I have done it for so many years, 20 years, that I set up a charity called Word Travels. And it started to make me really think about how stories help to build common unity. Community, common unity. And to be honest, common unity may mean the death of the venue. Sorry, venue that I'm in. But the audience versus artistic relationship is a status game. Me up here in light, you down there in dark. But in pandemic, this tiny handheld net screened our attention, creating attention addiction, and shut down this stage. I mean, remember Trevor Noah doing shows from his bed? And what about the kid running in the background of the International News Report? We basically, in 3 years, made a world of story sharers, authentic and vulnerable. So when we meet face to face, I actually don't want the theater based on the Colosseum structure. I'm not slave gladiatoring like a minstrel for you. Actually, community is created through us sharing stories with each other. This light, was supposed to actually be in the middle, and it's something that, it's like a flame that we all shine in. So here is my new ancient idea for how we create connection. Share stories around a dinner table. Dun dun! Pass art around in small circles. It's very simple. It's, let's call it family-style spoken word, or talking circles, or yarning, or storytelling clubs instead of talking in circles, or talking about reading other people's stories clubs. When strangers get together in the shape of a family around a table to tell stories, we create empathy and cross-experience understanding. I think of it as something like the Moth storytelling event in a 10-person buffet. And it's different from a conversation monopolized 89% of the time by the white dude. It's actually gathering together to share parts of ourselves. But even now, here I am, mimicking an imaginary screen, a wall between myself and those watching on video on their phone later. Right here, right now, we are not sitting in the same space. There's no sense of equity. There's no sense of us sharing with each other. I'm here actually being a light-emitting diode glass. It's true. I don't know how it happened. But it's not actually community, and sometimes it's comedy, but really it's commodity. Common chameleon. So I really want to innovate the way we tell stories, the way we share stories with each other, the way we create common unity. This is what Word Travels does. We actually combine communities with storytelling in unique and powerful ways. So in COVID, now I don't want this to become some sort of a nostalgia piece about COVID. We're not going back! Sorry, I had to actually put in a Kamala bit there, just, my own personal, Anyway, in COVID, we actually replaced Mary Gilmore on the Australian $10 note. Mary Gilmore, the poet who had was a staunch advocate of the white Australia policy and had flora-fauna ideas about brown people. That person on the $10 note, we replaced her with Wiradjuri poet Jazz Money. She performed a poem about the myth of the lucky country over Mary's face. We also put video poems on stop signs. All of that only visible through this. But this actually took us away from each other, the staring into this. So we created TED Walks, a 10-minute walk with a TED presenter around the harbor, suitable for 5 people. Uber stories delivered to your home. Poetaster, meet in a cafe with a poet and hear a poem one-on-one. How do we create intimacy? How do we create humanity when we have no center, we have no flame to sit in? That is why we're looking now at creating an International Story Week. Just a week, 1 week out of the year where we encourage everybody to host at least one dinner or get together with a friend. But whatever it is in that week, focus on picking a moment in your own life when everything changed and describing it through your senses. this visceral, tangible way of expressing your own experience as different from abstract and concept. It actually, if you pick a moment when everything changed, you tell us about something that changed you. And if it changed you, it forms one of your core beliefs about the world. And that is how I listen, understand you better. And I encourage you to only use concrete language, and if you're going to use abstract concepts, do it like this. Sto, re, mi. There once was a city named So called because of a peculiar characteristic in the speech pattern of the people who lived in the village of So. And that was the habit of constantly responding to anything you might have to say with the word so. You could walk up to any individual in the city of So and say, your dog died last So, your grandmother had a heart of So, a meteor is about to hit town square and the whole town has to be evacuated. So, and so the city was named So City. But you know, another strange characteristic was noticed. The habit of sighing a lot. People often got up in the center of town with new ideas and tried to present them. For example, one year, a traveling salesman came to town, and for the first time, he was giving something away, something for free. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in history, we have discovered a cure for every epidemic on the planet. No longer do your loved ones, your friends, your family, and all those poor people in the continent of Africa need to suffer. So. And so the city was renamed So-Sai City to accommodate for those two strange characteristics. But you know, the people of So-Sai City were a little bit disgruntled, a little bit lazy, had a few complaints about that name. It sounds like a hiss, sounds like a snake. So-Sai City, let's shorten it, let's make it snappy, let's make it conversational. So they took out C and changed it to Society. Now, many years ago in society, there was a famine, right? People were starving. They were dying on the streets. But a miracle occurred in this beautiful hilly field next to society. The field grew loaves of bread on bright, hard, brown stalks. And the people were saved, and they celebrated by naming the field the Famine Hilly Field. But you know, slang seeps into every language, and eventually people forgot about the famine and forgot about starvation and hunger, and they started calling it the Hilly Field, the family field. In fact, it had been leveled, those hills had been leveled, so it was the family field. Now, within society is a woman who is 10 months pregnant. She doesn't want to have the baby, and the baby does not want to come out. So when the child comes out, she names him In, because that's where she wants him to stay. Now, In doesn't say very much, and people notice this right away, and they look at him and they go, In says nothing. In says nothing. Introverted, introspective, insecure, and by the time he's 10, he's just insanity. Now, on this particular day, insanity is running through the family away from the city, away from society to a place on the opposite side of the world where people wake up, please, and greet each day with awe. See the sun, trees, flowers, other people, greet them all with absolute awe. And they don't shorten anything. They call their city what it is, Awe Day City. All for the day, Awe Day City, and they welcome insanity with open arms, and they say, you don't speak very much. We like that. We rename you Wisdom, and we give you a place to live. We give you a place to live in the center of town beneath a tree where all the poor people gather every day. And insanity finds common unity as Wisdom beneath the poetry.